It was a quiet afternoon at home. My son Alex had gone out to meet his friends, leaving me alone to enjoy some much-needed solitude. The house felt calm, and I finally had the opportunity to unwind in my own way. I decided to indulge in a little innocent fun, something I hadn't done in years. Digging through an old box in the attic, I found my long-forgotten childhood toy, a dusty but still functional yo-yo. I brought it down to the living room, excited to rediscover the simple joy it once brought me. I began to spin the yo-yo, reveling in the nostalgia. The familiar up and down motion was soothing, a welcome break from the responsibilities of adulthood. I felt carefree, as though I had traveled back in time to a simpler era. Just as I was lost in the rhythm, I heard the door creak open behind me. Startled, I turned around to see Alex standing there, his eyes wide with surprise. He was supposed to be out, and I hadn't heard him come in. For a moment, we both stood frozen, the yo-yo dangling awkwardly from my hand. Alex stepped further into the room, his expression a mix of curiosity and confusion. "Mom, what are you doing?" he asked, his voice tinged with both amusement and disbelief. I quickly rewound the yo-yo string and placed it on the coffee table, trying to compose myself. I was just playing with an old toy," I replied, feeling a bit embarrassed at being caught in such a childlike moment. Alex chuckled softly, his eyes glancing at the yo-yo. "I didn't know you still had that," he said, walking over to the couch and sitting down across from me. "I remember seeing it when I was a kid. You used to be really good at it." I smiled nervously, hoping to downplay the situation. "It's just something I found while cleaning up. I thought it might be fun to try again." He leaned back, his gaze fixed on me. "It's kind of funny seeing you like this. You're usually so serious." His words hit a nerve. I had always been the responsible one, the pillar of our family. Moments of levity were rare, and being seen in this light felt unsettling. I didn't know how to respond, so I simply nodded, hoping the conversation would shift. But Alex didn't seem ready to let it go. "It's okay, Mom. Everyone needs a break sometimes. It's just surprising to see you having fun with something so simple." I glanced at him, noticing the genuine warmth in his voice. He wasn't mocking me. He was just observing a side of me he rarely got to see. "I guess we all have our ways to unwind," I said, trying to ease the awkwardness. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "You know, I've been thinking lately about how much we change as we grow. Older sometimes. I wonder if we forget the little things that once made us happy." His words struck a chord. It had been years since I'd allowed myself to enjoy something so trivial, so seemingly insignificant. Life's demands often pushed aside the simple pleasures, leaving little room for such moments. Maybe you're right, I admit it. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle of daily life and forget what it's like to just be silly. Alex smiled exactly. "And honestly, seeing you like this makes me feel like we've both been missing out on something." There was a pause, the air between us filled with an unspoken understanding. I realized that this moment, as unexpected as it was, had opened a door to a conversation we rarely had. One about happiness, simplicity, and the ways we both could reconnect with ourselves and each other. "I guess we could both use a reminder now and then," I said softly, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. The tension that had initially filled the room began to dissipate, replaced by a newfound sense of camaraderie. Alex nodded, picking up the yo-yo and giving it a spin. "Maybe we can start small, like now. What do you think?" I watched him, the yo-yo swinging effortlessly under his control, and felt a sense of pride. "I think that's a great idea," I replied, leaning back into the couch, ready to embrace this rare and precious moment of connection. As Alex continued to spin the yo-yo, the atmosphere in the room softened further. The initial awkwardness faded, leaving space for a rare and genuine moment between us. I hadn't realized how much I missed these quiet, heartfelt conversations with my son. Life had a way of keeping us both busy, pulling us in different directions, and moments like this were few and far between. "Do you remember the last time we actually sat down and talked? Like this?" Alex asked, breaking the silence. I thought for a moment, trying to recall the last time we had shared more than a quick exchange about schedules or errands. "It's been a while," I admitted. "Too long, probably." Alex nodded, his eyes still focused on the yo-yo's rhythm. "Yeah, I think the last time was when I was in high school. Maybe after one of my soccer games. You were always there cheering me on." I smiled at the memory. "I was proud of you, Alex. I still am. You've grown into a wonderful young man." He looked up, his expression softening. "Thanks, Mom. I guess I don't say it enough, but I appreciate everything you've done for me. Even now, you're always putting others first." Hearing those words felt like a balm to my soul. Parenting often felt like a thankless job, but moments like this made it all worthwhile. "It's what parents do," I replied. "But it's nice to hear that it's noticed." Alex set the yo-yo down on the table and leaned back, exhaling deeply. "I think we both get caught up in our own worlds. You with work and me with school and friends. It's easy to forget to take a step back and just be." I nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. We all get caught in the routine. It's important to find these moments, to remind ourselves of what really matters. He smiled a bit more relaxed now. "You know, I've been meaning to tell you something. I've been feeling a bit lost lately. Like I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing with my life." His confession took me by surprise. Alex had always seemed so confident, so sure of himself. I hadn't realized he was struggling. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked gently. "I guess I didn't want to worry you." "You already have so much on your plate," he admitted, looking away. "Alex," I said, leaning forward to meet his gaze. "I'm your mother. No matter how busy I am, I will always make time for you. You don't have to go through things alone." He sighed, the weight of his words hanging in the air. "It's just hard sometimes, you know, trying to figure out who I am and what I want. I thought I had it all planned out, but now I'm not so sure." I reached out, placing a hand on his arm. "It's normal to feel that way. Everyone goes through periods of uncertainty. The important thing is to talk about it and not bottle it up." He looked at me, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thanks, Mom. I guess I just needed to hear that." We sat there in silence for a moment, the understanding between us deepening. It felt as if we had crossed an invisible barrier, one that had kept us from truly connecting on a deeper level. "I'm always here for you, Alex," I said softly. "No matter what, we'll figure things out together." He smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that warmed my heart. "I know, Mom, and I appreciate that more than you know." The conversation had taken an unexpected turn, but it was a welcome one. It reminded me that even as our children grow older, they still need us, just in different ways. And sometimes all it takes is a quiet afternoon, and an old yo-yo to bring that to light. The warmth of our conversation lingered in the air, wrapping us in a sense of renewed closeness. Alex picked up the yo-yo again, giving it another spin, his expression thoughtful. "I've been thinking," he said, after a moment, his eyes following the yo-yo's motion. "Maybe we should do this more often, talk. I mean, not just when something's wrong, but whenever we can." I nodded, feeling the weight of his words. "I'd like that. It's easy to drift apart when we get busy, but we can always make time for each other." He smiled, a hint of relief in his expression. "You know, for a long time, I thought you wouldn't understand some of the things I've been going through, but I realize now that I should have given you more credit. felt a pain of guilt, wondering if I had somehow given him the impression that I wouldn't be there for him. I'm sorry if I ever made you feel like you couldn't talk to me. That was never my intention. Alex shook his head. It's not your fault, Mom. I think I just convinced myself that I had to handle everything on my own. But talking to you now, it feels like a weight has been lifted. His honesty touched me deeply, and I reached out to hold his hand. You never have to carry things alone, Alex. No matter what you're going through, I'm here. He squeezed my hand, the connection between us strengthening with each passing second. Thanks, Mom. I really mean it. The yo-yo, which had been the catalyst for our conversation, lay forgotten on the table. In its place was a newfound understanding. A bridge that had always been there, but needed this moment to be fully crossed. Let's make a promise, I said. Breaking the silence from now on. We'll make time for these talks, no matter how busy we get. Alex nodded his expression, firm deal. No more keeping things bottled up. We both smiled, the simplicity of our agreement bringing a sense of peace. It felt as though we had turned a new page, one where openness and connection would take center stage. As the afternoon light shifted, casting a warm glow in the room, I felt grateful for this unexpected encounter. What started as a simple moment of play had turned into a meaningful conversation, one that had brought us closer than ever before. Maybe we can even find some other old toys to play with. Alex suggested, a playful grin on his face. I chuckled, feeling the lightness return. Careful, you might awaken my inner child. Well, that might not be a bad thing, he said, his grin widening. Sometimes we all need a reminder to not take life so seriously. I couldn't agree more. Life was too short to let moments like these slip away, and I vowed to cherish each one that came our way. Let's keep the yo-yo, I said, picking it up and placing it back in the box. It'll be our little reminder to take a break and just be. Alex nodded, a look of contentment on his face. Sounds like a plan, Mom. And with that, we both knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in our relationship, one built on trust, understanding, and the simple joys that life had to offer.